Well, hello. Good morning. Here from the Philippines. My beautiful fiance Eileen in the back there. Say hello. Yeah, still enjoying life here in the Philippines. Um, just want to talk about this Mamdani win. You talk about madness. Mamdani, you know, I used to think, well, I'm from North Carolina. I'm a native North Carolinian. And when I was growing up, we used to have folks, move from New York, and they used to tell us about the awesome school system in New York. All the different programs and extracurricular activities they could take. Like down south, we had football. Some schools offered baseball, and basketball, stuff like that, swimming, what have you. But they did it. New York, they had like shooting. They could take up shooting, architecture, or art or something, and they had swim teams and tennis and all this stuff. And for years, we thought that people from New York would, you know, since they had all this education offered for free, they would be smart. But it's obvious that their school system has failed them because anybody with a brain knows communism is pure hell. Okay, you can look at North Korea, old Russia, and for anyone of African, who had ancestors that were slaves, you know, I don't know if they realize that communism is slavery 2.0. And what I mean by that, communism is a form of slavery that there is no escape, none. And the only reason that the Russian people were set free was because the powers that be saw that it was a failing system and cared enough about their people to free them, to end communism in Russia. That's the only reason it was ended in Russia. It wasn't because of uprising. Because I'm going to tell you right now, in the free world, like our beautiful country, like America, where you have a right to protest and complain and do all this other crazy stuff, in communist countries, you cannot do that. If you do that, you're going away to a miserable hellhole and you're going to suffer probably for the rest of your life. And they probably do it like they did in Russia, previous communist Russia and North Korea. Not just you, your family members suffer as well. They're gonna make a harsh example of you for anyone who complains and uprisings. So all you people that love to protest and complain about anything, if the soup's cold, you get out there in the street and protest. You know, that's what communism is about. So while you're there in New York cheering and happy and celebrating this guy you just elected, keep that in mind. You just elected a person who's in favor of communism, or basically slavery for humanity. That's what it is. It's in favor of slavery for humanity. And they always start off saying that they're just the socialists. They just want to take care of it. But that's how they all start. Sweet song and dance until they take every right away from you, every form of self-defense, all your weapons, everything. Once they take that all away from you, then they say, "No, we're gonna be communists. Nothing you can do about it. Have a hell of a day. Go to work and work for us, make us rich." That's what they do. Uh, it's just sad. But out of every bad situation, there's a good result. Now, the good result of this is he's just mayor of New York for a certain amount of time, and he's mayors have power, but he's only a mayor. He's not president. He's not a legislator or anything. So there's only so much he can do, only so much damage this man will be able to do. But it's good that with the damage that he will do, because it will teach these young folks and these older folks that just don't have any sense how bad socialism can be. Because once you start off with free this, free that, you start letting these scumbags cut them loose, cut down on your law enforcement, which is vital, especially for a large city like New York. It's just the lifeline. I remember back in the '80s, the crack '80s, and it was hell. You know, I would go to DC during the summer and stuff. I almost got shot twice, I'm not a criminal. I'm not doing. I was in the Marine Corps. I was a good student, did extracurricular. I'm just walking down the street with a friend, and we almost got shot twice just by walking. We were doing nothing. Matter of fact, we just graduated Marine Corps boot camp. We weren't doing anything. We just wanted to see DC and stuff, and guys just driving down the freeway, high as a kite, jumped out of his car, and his friend called him back. Called him back in the car. And then in the second time, I was walking with a friend, and he came down and wanted to start an argument and pulled a gun. Luckily, the friend that I was with knew this guy and diffused the situation. But back in the '80s in New York, it was rough. There was people killed all the time at daily basis, violent murders, violent, and not just people who do dirt killing other people who are doing dirt. It was innocent bystanders, children getting killed. It was horrible, horrible, tough place to live at the time. Graffiti all over the subways and stuff. People, movies were made, and you couldn't make a movie based in New York without seeing the subway painted in graffiti. It was a nightmare. And then Mayor Giuliani came and cleaned all that up, stood behind the police department, stood behind his law enforcement, and they went and cleaned that place up. So Mamdani promising to cut back on law enforcement, that's going to be a disaster. Then the free public transportation, free this and free that, it's going to be a disaster. When you have stuff that's free, people take advantage of it. I mean, really take advantage of it. And it's going to be a nightmare. Now, for the citizens of New York that did not want this, did not vote for Mamdani, I feel sorry for you. And hopefully he won't do too much damage. Like I said, we all know good and well that the mayor's powers only go so far. So he can't turn New York into this lone communist country. There's only so many things he can do. But unfortunately, the things he can do can be quite harmful. Like, for example, like I keep saying, like with law enforcement, vital. And, personally, I think we need to give all law enforcement the batons back, bring profiling back, and to make places much safer than they are now. Because when you can't sit down with your brand new watch and just sit down in peace without somebody trying to kill you and take that watch from you, that it's just too much. And that's what's going on now. You can't drive a nice car without worrying about somebody, when you stop at a stoplight, somebody coming and pulling a gun on you and blowing your brains out just to take your car. It's horrible, horrible place to live. And me being, I live in a different state now. I live in Virginia. Right now I'm in the Philippines, of course, but, I'm a citizen of Virginia. I live in Virginia a long time now. And when I go to North Carolina, I'm seeing refugees coming from New York down to North Carolina, which is fun. This is America. You can go in the state you want to and start over again. But my fear is a lot of these folks are starting to bring their poisonous ideas from these cities, bringing them down south, which we don't need. We don't need your poisonous liberal ideas because they're all toxic. If you're coming down south, welcome your family, live and let live. That's what we're about. Live and let live. But once you start talking about dictating what we eat, what we say, how we live, how many weapons we can have, how many of this and that we can have if we can do. No, take that crap back up in New York. So the good thing about this is this is going to be a wake up call and a good lesson for our young Americans to see how this socialist, basically communist crap is a total disaster. And now I know I travel a lot. Now I know lot of young folks, a lot of folks are good people. They're level headed. They think right. They're conservative. They love America. They love our freedom, everything about our country, which is beautiful. We have a lot of young people that are screwed on right, their heads on right. But we got a lot of young people that have been misinformed, and misguided their entire youth. All this poison has been put in their mind, and the result is Mamdani. So hopefully, when they see the results of what he's going to do, it will help straighten him out. Now, some of them will straighten out. Some of them will realize the error of their ways. But I've been living on this earth 54 years. Some people will not change. No matter, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Even after all the disasters that Mamdani is planning to do, no matter how bad it gets, there'll be some people that still go for that communist crap, no matter what. And then for him to be anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, it's crazy. It really gets to me how some people talk about racism and slavery reparations, human rights, and all this crap on one hand, and then they go vote for somebody who's totally against all that stuff. I mean, who's totally for all that stuff on the other hand. Totally for it. It's just madness. But luckily, I don't live in New York. I live far away from New York. And, I've gone there in passing, doing tours. I go see sites and stuff like that. But as far as living there, I wouldn't want to live there. And like I said, I'm from Virginia. And it's funny, in Virginia, we see a lot of Democrats that win. Like we just recently had an election, and the Republican woman lost against a Democratic woman, and she's I can guess she won. But what a lot of people don't realize is there's two parts of Virginia. They're two completely different worlds. You have Northern Virginia, which is a populous city. They're very liberal up there. And then you have southern part of Virginia, very conservative, extremely, well, not extremely conservative, but very conservative, very level-headed, and they're two different worlds. But unfortunately, Northern Virginia is more populated than Southern Virginia, and we all know why Northern Virginia is more populated, because DC's there. That's where all the jobs are. Everybody knows if you want to make money, which we all like doing, if you want to make money, you got to go to Northern Virginia. You can live in Northern Virginia, work in DC, and make money. And there are a lot of people that live in Southern Virginia and commute to Northern Virginia to make that sweet money. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing. I'm just telling you, there's two different worlds. And the only reason these Democrats win in these major areas like Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland is because the city, the populous city. But along with that, it gives you a great view of disastrous Democratic policies. Like Northern Virginia, at one time, like when DC was the murder, back in the 80s, when DC was the murder capital, safe place right next door was Northern Virginia. Zero murder rate. Crime was, it had crime, of course, but crime was low. Northern Virginia always had a reputation of being a nice, beautiful place to live. Slowly but surely, as democratic policies started to set in place, crime went up, started getting murder rates. MS-13 infested the area, still infested the area. Got a lot of illegals up there. And still, Northern Virginia is still a nice place, but it's nowhere near as nice as it was back in the day. I promise you that. It's more dangerous now. Not as dangerous, I'm telling you. Northern Virginia is still a sweet place, but it's not as sweet as it used to be. It's not as safe as it used to be. Not as clean as it used to be. So, New York, Giuliani stepped in, cleaned that place up, made it nice, made it safe. Tourism started picking up. You started having more money flow into New York. People were living better. You know, you was having a lot of overnight millionaires. A lot of beautiful things were coming out of New York after Giuliani cleaned it up. All that stuff is going to go right in the toilet. Right in the toilet. This guy is going to ruin your beautiful city. But like I said, there's a good out of everything. Once he ruins it, it'll be a lesson, life lesson for our youth who are communist leaning. And like I said, I don't know why they're communist leaning, because communism, socialism is just slavery 2.0. You can't escape once you get in. But that's it for now. Just wanted to go off a little bit. I will see you next time. Take care.